Hello and welcome to Sammy C. Press. Today we're diving back into something more than Shakespeare, Poetry Workbook. And the time has arrived to enter the very thing that broke my 14-year-old brain in high school. I know, I've waited as long as I possibly could, but we have to do it. I promise to make it as painless as possible and help everyone to be able to wrap their minds around it. Although many will probably say, that wasn't complicated at all. But others may be simply grateful. Whatever the case, here we go. We're going to learn how to measure poetry. No, you will not need a literal ruler, but you will need a foot. But not your foot, so put your sock back on. Why must you, Sammy C., submit me to such torture, you may be asking? Well, there is a reason for this madness. There's an important word called scansion, which means scanning. Think of yourself as a detective. You are looking at a crime scene. In this case, the crime scene is a poem. You're looking to see how many lines or verses are broken up, how many feet are involved, as well as how many suspects, meaning stressed and unstressed syllables. As you are looking or scanning the crime scene, you will be able to recognize and understand the poem. You'll be able to count the syllables, making it easier for you to determine not only who the criminal is, that would be the poet, but also the rhyme and flow of the scene. That way, you will be able to solve further cases and understand their criminal ways. Now, detectives, you will need a little training to review these crime scenes, or poems. But why, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. When we use Scansion, we scan the structure of the poetic form the poet used. This will allow us, detectives, or readers, to understand the poem on a deeper level. That will allow us to 1. Determine the meter of the poem. That is looking for the footprints or the feet, as well as any patterns of syllables with each foot. 2. We will be able to find the line length by the length of feet. 3. Then we will know the rhythm of the poem, which will help us to understand its meaning. We'll see the rhyme scheme. 4. We'll be able to figure out what type of poem it is. Then we will know how the poem is to be read. This, my fellow detectives, can completely change the meaning of the poem if read differently than the poet intended. There are marks we are going to use in our detective work. 1. A mark called a wand, which looks like this. We place it over a strong syllable. 2. A mark called a cup, which looks like a U. We place that over a weak or unstressed syllable. 3. A mark called a foot boundary. We place that there to separate the feet in the line of a verse. It can also be a long dash, / depending on where you look. Number 4, a mark called caesura. We place one either between feet or phrases that mark the breaks in speech. Okay, so meter has 2 components. 1, the pattern of syllables. Many people are familiar with William Shakespeare, and he wrote in iambic pentameter. So the iambic piece is da-dum, so that means unstressed, stressed. Okay? The second part of that is how many feet are used in a line. That's where the pentameter comes in. So that means that there is da-dum 5 different times in that line of poetry. So, feet are individual units within the larger line. Each metrical feet consists of a specific number of syllables arranged in a particular pattern of emphasis. So that's it. So let's look at this example of Snow Dust by Robert Frost. We're only going to look at the first stanza. So let's break out our magnifying glasses and see what we can find out. The first line says, "The way a crow." Now, to learn how to read this, we need to know the pattern of the syllables. This happens to be iambic, so that means the is unstressed and way is stressed. So that would be da-dum. Okay, so we have the first component. Now what's the second component? we notice that there's a pattern of da-dum 2 times. So that means there is going to be 2 feet. That would be called, by looking up to our little chart here, 2 feet diameter. So that means that snow dust is written in iambic dimeter. Now he throws us a curveball at the end, but we're not going to talk about that right now because I don't want you to get confused. So detectives, you have received your training and you are ready to go. You can use your magnifying glasses for further cases. You've learned that meter has 2 components. 1, a pattern of syllables, and 2, a specific number of feet used within each line. With these tools, you will be able to find out how to properly dissect and read poetry. I hope you enjoyed this quick lesson on Scansion. Until next time.